Welcome to newspaper analysis session. So we are continuing our discussion from previous day, and the previous day we have discussed various things. I hope you have revised that content. If any doubts, you can ask me after the lecture. So in today's main heading, if you can see, the news is about the Maoists. Before getting into the article, first we need to understand what is this Maoism means. Whenever you hear the term Maoism or any other technical term or any definition, first go to its basics, understand the basic concepts, then concepts for you will be very clear. What is the difference between the Maoists and the other terrorists or any kind of terror activities? So basically when we say terrorism, any act of violence, it is considered to be a kind of terrorist activity. Now, the Maoists, they are primarily guided by the Mao ideology. Basically, we had a CPI, a political party. From the same CPI political party, one wing got separated and it has took extreme ideology. Their ideology is to bring down the government through armed rebellion. They want to take down the government. So what is their basic ideology? They want to overthrow the government through, not just through the democratic means. Basically, if you have to fight the government, you will contest the elections. That is the basic principle of democracy. But without going through the elections, if you want to fight through armed struggle and armed rebellion, you will consider that organization as a kind of extremist organization. That's why this political party, which used to be a political party, now has been banned. And what is their ideology? Basically, they have been taking their political ideology from the Mao, who is from the China. There, he advocated that all the peasants come, let's gather and fight against the government. And then it was at that time, in that scenario, for them, for the China, it was fine. Because they saw the government as a kind of oppressive, not giving good amount of rights to the people. They are not involved in the development. So he has given a call to all the peasants, let's take the arms and overthrow the government and let us come to the power. And once we come to the power, then there will be equality. Then there will be more rights. This was the kind of ideology. Post-independence, why this ideology was adopted? After independence, we have taken up various developmental measures, right? We have gone for the agriculture, we have gone for the industry. But one unfortunate thing for us is, yes, unfortunate, because wherever there are forests, our mineral belts are lying beneath those forest belts. And you know, traditionally, where do tribals live? Majority cases, they live in the forest areas. Government has also brought various measures to protect these tribals. But unfortunately, not all the measures were properly implemented. Now say, I have introduced, government has introduced some scheme, but they are not reaching to me. And I am also forced to evacuate my land for the developmental purposes. Will I be not get offended? Consider this from the developmental perspective. Let us come back to this Maoism, what is happening currently. Okay, so I will be get offended, or I will be going against the government. I will feel bad. Now I am in this scenario. I am a tribal person. I am not getting a kind of developmental activities. Development is not reaching to me. Now, in such a scenario, if some kind of extremist group come and they say, okay, see, this is what the government is doing. You are not getting the development. Let's take the arm. Let's fight them. Okay, this is how the Maoism has started. Okay, the land reforms, whatever the land reforms that were implemented post independence, that were not properly implemented. What are the land reforms? Like say, there were various things under the land reforms, like zamindari system was abolished. Okay, and whoever is tilling the land, for them land rights has to be given, but somehow they were not properly implemented. Tribals or farmers were not properly benefited. So there was a kind of disillusionment. Then this kind of extremist ideology has come. Now, what should we do if we have to address the problem of the Maoism to its core? Very simple thing, right? We have to just provide the development. If some person, some extremist person is coming to me and trying to provoke me to do something, if I don't have to support that person, whatever the developmental benefits are meant for me, if they are reaching out to me, and if I feel satisfied, if I feel this country belongs to me, this government belongs to me, this government takes care of welfare, then will I support these kind of ideologies? No, right? So, the major important role that has to be played in order to handle this Maoism is development. Development is a good antidote to all these kind of extremist activities. But this alone is not sufficient. On other hand, when you have to take the development and when you are reaching to the tribal areas to build some kind of roads, infrastructure in order to bring the development. You can't do the development without kind of roads and infrastructure, right? But when these activities are being conducted, some kind of blast are happening or attacks are happening. Now you need security related measures also, right? So we are doing this comprehensive approach in form of security related countermeasures and also developmental measures, right? Currently, this is what you are seeing in this news, right? This is what these things are coming up. Because government has made a very clear-cut target by 2026, March 31st. They want to end Maoism in India. Once upon a time, it was considered as a biggest internal security threat. Now, this is not that serious threat in India. So, they are trying to eliminate all the leaders, whoever the people leading the force, okay, they are trying to eliminate them. Now, I want to counter their ideology. What is their ideology? They are going to the people and saying that there is no development. Let's overthrow the government. Okay, support us. That's how local people, they may not directly take up the arms, but they are not giving information to the government. Somehow they are giving some kind of, maybe some kind of funds or anything. Okay, they should not get attracted to this thing. So government is also bringing the developmental measures. Apart from this, whoever the person are involved in this extremist ideology, government is also saying that if you give up the arms, we will also provide you rehabilitation. We will provide you jobs. Under PM Awas Yojana, we will also provide you housing. So give up the arms. Participate in democratic things. This is what going on currently. Okay. So gradually we will see as the developmental measures intensify or get stronger and the implementation becomes stronger, this Maoism will be completely eliminated. Okay, this is what we are doing now. Is this clear? So you don't have to remember who the leaders were killed. Okay, what is the attack has happened. You don't have to follow the chronology. You need to understand why this thing is happening in India. What was the major core reason? The core reason is the developmental deficit. Now, if I have to jot down the point simply, okay. Now see, what could be the major causes of Maoism or Naxalism in India? So, first point I will say is the development deficit. Development deficit. Okay. So, within this development deficit, I will say whatever the land reforms post-independence we have taken up, they were not totally successful. Okay. They have not reached to every person. So, this thing I will say land reforms can be partially successful. Then I will also say, whenever there is some kind of developmental projects, there has to be resettlement. Now you have to construct a dam or you have to go for the mining. So that area has to be cleared. So when that such area has to be cleared, so obviously tribals are the most affected. And this thing, resettlement and rehabilitation is also not complete. And it is not that easy also. Can you imagine a scenario? The person who is tilling the land or living in that particular area since ages, maybe since their forefather times, okay, they do not know anything. They know only how to utilize the forest products. They do not know what else can they do. Now you are asking them, okay, we'll give you some money, you vacate this area. That will be very difficult for them. It is not possible for them to survive. Okay, we should be very careful in implementing this thing. Now, these kind of things so many times have been asked in the GS4 case study. You are some ex-authority, they want to implement some kind of developmental thing, but there are so many tribals present there. How will you bring the developmental measures? What will you do? On one side, you need industries and development for the purpose of the jobs. Without bringing some kind of establishing some kind of thermal power plant or roads and all, development cannot happen. And at the same time, you cannot call it as a development by disturbing the local people, local culture, right? You have to balance both of them. How you balance both of them? You don't have to do anything wonderful or bring some kind of new things, okay? Whatever the government laws are there, whatever the resettlement and rehabilitation laws are there, you will go as per them. You will say implement these things properly, bring the development. If any person is having any concerns, through our democratic means, we have all the possibilities to raise the concerns. We have strong media, okay, they can raise the concerns. We have NGOs, civil society to highlight the concerns of the local people. But you cannot take up the arms. That is not the way to progress in the democratic society, right? So these are the things that you will mention in the case studies also as per the demand of the requirement of the question. Okay, so this is how government is taking, and also the government is also taking various. Now we are talking about the causes. Okay, so apart from these other causes, ideological influence by the Maoism. Okay, we can say. Okay, then what else? What are the other cause you can say? That is also. Okay, another thing is ideological influence. Okay, only armed struggle is the only solution, nothing else. No talking, no speaking. Okay, only attacking. Okay, so such kind of things. Okay, another things like I have mentioned, geography is also another problem. Like I have mentioned, if you see this Chhattisgarh, Andhra Pradesh, why this Naxalism is strong or dominant there? They give the hiding grounds. All these areas have the moist deciduous forest. Have you seen these things? The Chhattisgarh area, okay, and the surrounding, the nearby Telangana areas and all. Okay, so there are very dense vegetation in this nearby Maharashtra and all. So they can easily hide in these places. It is very difficult for the security forces to identify the like a threat. So that's the reason most of the times it is very difficult for them to counter these Maoist forces. Okay, they will involve in this guerrilla tactics. You might have seen this thing in the movies. Suddenly from the trees, from the bushes, and they will attack from here and all. It is very difficult. It's not that easy. Now we have new technology, like we have drones and all advanced things. Okay, now things are becoming easy. But few years back it used to be very difficult. Okay, so all these things, geography is also supporting this thing. Now that's the reason we are taking up various measures to counter this thing. The major measure is developmental measures. All those measures that have been taken, like Forest Rights Act, okay, where we are recognizing the rights of the locals. You can talk about Schedule 5, Schedule 6, all those things you can talk about, and also security related measures that have been taken up that we can talk about. Okay, so this is the fundamental aspect related to the Maoism that is happening, and this is this will go on. Okay, maybe a few more things will come up, few more developmental initiatives will come up. We need to add up, but we need to have the basics. Now it is clear. So what the ideology of the Maoism is? So whenever you say Maoism, so they are talking about the political ideology. It is nothing but the armed rebellion taken up by the peasants or any locally available people against the government. So they want to overthrow the government. They are not against India. They are against the government. This is the difference. Whoever the terrorist, like external state actors who are involved, we have seen in the previous thing, like Lashkar-e-Taiba, all these things, or whatever the attacks that has happened against India. So they are totally against India. They are not against the government. They want to attack everyone. Here, these are the Indians themselves. They want to overthrow the government to bring some other form of government. Okay. So this is the difference. But anyone, whichever the organization it is, if they use violence as a means, then it is considered as a kind of terrorist activity. Okay. So you are trying to scare people. Okay. You are trying to raise the fears in the people. Okay. That is considered to be a kind of terror. I hope this is clear. So now if you see here, okay, there was a news going on regarding this Ashoka University associate professor. So the news is about the freedom of the speech and expression. You might be reading this. Our constitution provides various rights to us. The freedom of speech and expression is one of the important rights. Okay. So everyone know fundamental rights is being provided by the constitution. These are the basic fundamental in nature. These are being provided so that whatever the state does not takes up all the powers. Basically, we are giving some powers to the government so that they rule properly. So that's why while ruling, they cannot do what they want. Certain rights are fundamental to you. They are fundamental in nature. If these things are violated, you can directly go to the Supreme Court. And one such fundamental right to is freedom of speech and expression. We are a democratic country. For the democracy to happen, it is basically democracy means we all discuss, debate, and what is good to us, then we will bring as a kind of rule or law that has to be followed by everyone. So basically democracy involves debates and the discussion because it is a rule by the people, right? So for the debates and discussions to happen, there should be freedom of speech. I have to say, if I don't like something, I should be able to say something. Okay, then only based on that, some debates will be raised. Or else there is no democracy if there is no freedom of speech and expression. Okay, so that's why our government, our constitution has given freedom of speech and expression to us. Now, from this freedom of speech and expression, we also derive various kinds of the rights, like press freedom. Okay, though it is not directly mentioned under the constitution. So now press, what they are doing, media, whoever it is, okay, whatever the information that is there, they are publishing that information. Only through the thing debates happens, right? So whenever something happens, media will publish it. Be it a print media or digital media, through reading Hindu newspaper, then only you are able to generate some kind of opinion, whether right or wrong. So it is also inherent right. So from the freedom of speech and expression, which is mentioned under the Article 9, subclause 1, you are getting various inherent rights. Now see, I am linking that article to other things. I am also linking that particular freedom of speech and expression, which are also related with the other things. Now I am just giving you some big picture, why the freedom of speech and expression is important. That article that itself might be a kind of simple example for us, Ashoka University case. But questions will not come from that. They will ask us question in the polity aspect, why this freedom of speech and expression is important. Are there any limitations to this freedom of speech and expression? Does constitution provides any kind of limitations on this freedom of speech and expression? Are there any other rights being derived from this freedom of speech and expression? So we are talking about the aspect. Yes, there are certain other rights that are being derived from this freedom of speech and expression. So one such right is, okay, so we will also get the like a freedom of press from this. Like in one of the case, in Ramesh Thapar versus State of the Madras. Okay, in this case, Supreme Court emphasized that, yes, we are like when you mention freedom of speech and expression, okay, for our democracy to be successful, there should be also freedom of press. In the same way, and there was one case where certain students, they were not willing to sing national anthem. Okay, so they were expelled from the school. Okay, they were silent. They were not causing any kind of disturbance or insult to any national anthem, but they were just sitting silent because of some purpose, something. Okay, they are not singing. The Supreme Court has interpreted that freedom of speech and expression also includes freedom to remain silent. Okay, so that is also mentioned here. Okay, Bijo Emmanuel versus the State of the Kerala. Now these are the certain Supreme Court judgments. I will try to remember. You don't have to mug up so many things, but I will remember some things which I will be able to utilize in the exam hall. During my preparation also, I used to remember the same thing. Now for suppose right to information, everyone are aware. Okay, so that right to information has gained momentum because Supreme Court has said this information. Okay, if you guys have the freedom of speech and expression, if I have to say something, I should know, I should have the knowledge. First to speak, I should have the knowledge. So that's why there is a kind of freedom to right to know. Okay, so from the State of the UP versus Rajanarayan case. So now this thing can also be utilized in the RTI Act as an introduction. If the question has been given on the RTI, I will use this judgment as introduction, or I will say why the RTI Act is important. There I will use this judgment. I can use the same article, same judgments at the multiple places. This was also the one of the famous case, Shreya Singhal versus Union of the India. Okay. See, now we have section 66A of the IT Act. Anything you post online, okay, now even in this case also, he has posted something on the Instagram once these Operation Sindoor was happening. So he said basically something saying that, okay, so people are very happy, or people were praising the women commanders. What about the scenarios of the mob lynching, or whatever the ground reality is happening to the Muslims, that is not same. Like this, he had said something during the time of the war. So he was held under the saying that sedition charges, as well as saying something against that is harmful to the sovereignty and integrity of the India. This is a case that is going on and investigation is going on. Okay, so does he meant something or not? But for us to understand that thing, we need to know what is this freedom of speech and expression, right? So we are talking about all these things. In the same way, like he has said on the online, once a time, okay, Shreya Singhal has said something on the online against one person in the Maharashtra. Okay, but Supreme Court has supported the person. You cannot suppress everything. Only in certain cases, freedom of speech and expression has to be restricted. And this was the section in the IT Act which was giving powers. Remember this, very important one. Section 66A of the IT Act. Now, using this act, if I say anything on the Instagram, I can be caught. Okay. So, Supreme Court has struck down this act. Okay. So, you cannot restrict the freedom of speech and expression. That was struck down in this case, Shreya Singhal versus the Union of India. But somehow we see, okay, the arrests are still happening using the same provisions, even though it was struck down by the court. Okay. So, this is a very important. These are the judgments I'll try to remember. Okay. Other judgments also you can just have an idea. Now see, these are the various judgments we have derived from the freedom of the speech and expression. So we are saying, now you guys can say why the freedom of speech and expression is important for the democracy, to right to know, for the debate purposes, and also to bring any kind of policy changes. Just if you can think of anything for any person, for this freedom is why it is that important. Okay, to bring any kind of feedback to the government, to bring any kind of changes, or to criticize, constructive criticism, okay, to criticize constructively any kind of errors in the government policies. Okay, for all these aspects, there is a need for freedom of speech and expression. Okay, then only government will make the changes. Like say, today we will discuss this Jal Jeevan mission. Government has sanctioned certain 1,000 crores for this thing. But there was a criticism that why these many crores have been spent on this thing. Okay, this Jal Jeevan mission is about the bringing tapped water connections to all the rural households. But so many crores have been spent on this thing. So someone has raised, is this funds, or these funds are being utilized properly? So realizing this thing, government is now doing the investigation in certain districts. Now, is this not the use for fundamental, very good usage of the freedom of speech and expression? Government has identified, yes. Okay, then you might have seen this SR survey. Government schools, in the government schools, the 5th class student is not able to do like basic reading of the class 2 book. Basic numeracy is also, he is not able to handle some kind of basic arithmetic multiplications, or also he is not able to do. Like this SR survey has been done. Now, this is also kind of constructive feedback. This is because all these things are happening because of the freedom of speech and expression. If they ask you why this freedom of speech and expression is important, these are the points that you will talk about. But are they absolute? Now I have the freedom of speech and expression. Can I abuse all of you? I can say, no, this is my freedom. Okay. Can I abuse person with some other faith? Some person is following some religion. Can I abuse that person? No. So there are certain restrictions. Okay. Your freedom comes with certain restrictions. Now what are those restrictions that are reasonable restrictions that are mentioned? Okay. Sovereignty and integrity of the India. These are the very important things. They can simply ask in the prelims, what are those reasonable restrictions that are mentioned in the constitution? Sovereignty and security of the India, security of the state, friendly relations with the foreign nations, public order, decency or morality, contempt of the court, defamation, incitement to offense, or the sovereignty and integrity of the government. Okay, so these are the most important aspects. Okay, now these are not broadly, these are just broadly defined. They are not very precisely defined. Now, sovereignty and integrity of India, defamation. So these are very broad terms. Okay. So case to case basis, Supreme Court will identify whether these are the reasonable restrictions or not. Case to case basis. Okay. It is not possible to define everything, right? So case to case basis, Supreme Court will go. So this is the thing we need to study, not what is happening in the Ashoka University, what the professor has said. Okay. Now what the government is saying. All that thing may be just one kind of example or case study we can use when the broad question comes under the freedom of speech and expression. Okay. So why it is important to us, what kind of rights are derived from the freedom of speech and expressions, and what are the reasonable restrictions. So are we clear with this topic? Okay. We'll go little slow, and whenever any topic is left out, okay, that thing will be covered in the next class. Basically, how I am going is, certain topics we need to go little deeper. Okay, so when we are taking up some topics, I am going at particular depth, and some topics I am trying to cover everything. Okay, when we try to cover one topic in a holistic manner, okay, it might take little bit more time. Okay, so depending upon the availability of the time, we will pick up different topics each day. For suppose you might have seen in the news, okay, Israel and this Gaza issue is going on. Okay, Palestine issue. Now there is a very big topic. Okay, that itself might take so much of time. So I have reserved the topic for particular day. So we will go gradually. So let the day come. Okay. So till then you will have some brief idea, and then when the day comes, you will get complete picture. Chalo. Now this thing, another thing is in the news. Okay, Tamil Nadu is complaining against the government that they are restricting the funds to the Tamil Nadu. Okay, the funds that are meant for the education. Now, here the first point, whenever we say education, so the first point that has to come in our mind is the education is in the state list or the concurrent list. Education is in the concurrent list. Now, why the Tamil Nadu government is complaining? Okay, why the fund of flow comes from the central government, or how the funds will come from the central government? So you need to understand that basic. So whenever the central government has to share funds with the state government, so it has various mechanisms. So first thing is, under Article 280, you have the Finance Commission, right? This is a constitutional body. This constitutional body will say, so whatever the amount it has, okay, how it has to be devolved to the states. This is a constitutional methodology. Okay, so various like taxes are taken up by the central government, or various measures how the revenue is generated by the central government. Now this certain part of the revenue will be given to the states. There should be certain criteria. So that criteria will be given up by the Finance Commission. How much of the money should central government give it to the state government? Okay, it says whatever the money it is having, central government is having, 41% should be given to the states. Now there should be some other criteria how this 41% of the money will be divided between the other states, right? So this is one thing. Apart from this, central government is also having certain amount of money with itself, because we have union list, state list, and the concurrent list. So for the central government to run things in the union list and the concurrent list, it needs money. Okay, so for any certain program, okay, there can be central sector scheme and centrally sponsored scheme. There are two types of schemes that are being run by the government: central sector scheme and the centrally sponsored scheme. In the central sector scheme, funding will be 100% given by the central government. In the centrally sponsored schemes, okay, basically these are the centrally sponsored schemes that are taken up in the concurrent list to bring some kind of homogeneity in entire India. Like say new education policy or education schemes, it should not be like some state is doing something in the education, some other state is doing something else. To bring the homogeneity, certain central sector schemes are taken. Here the funding will be basically in a sharing pattern. It will be like 60% will be given by the center, 40% will be should be contributed by the state government. Okay, and it comes with certain kinds of conditionalities. State has to do certain things. Now, one such centrally sponsored scheme was Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. But central government saying that, okay, you have not implemented properly new education policy. So that's why they have restricted. This is what Tamil Nadu government says. Now, what is the major contention with this new education policy? The major thing, the new education policy that was released in the 2020 is 3-language formula. This was the controversy. This was a huge controversy, right? 3-language formula issue. Okay, there should be first. Okay, whatever the language that is like a globally or anything famous, that like English language or something, that we will take up. Okay, and anything your state-based language, okay, that you will take up. And third thing, a language that has to promote a kind of unity. Okay, something, any Indian language you have to take up. Okay, it's like in the South India, you have to take up some of the as mentioned languages like Hindi or Sanskrit or anything. In the North India, they have to take up South Indian languages or any other languages mentioned as a third language. But Tamil Nadu says that we don't want this 3-language formula. We don't want to teach Hindi. Okay, so that's why, okay, lack of poor implementation of this new education policy. Central government they might have restricted the funds. Okay, now the state government, the Tamil Nadu, they are fighting against the central government that we have not got the funds. Now for this, whatever the thing that you have got, that you have seen in the news, is that thing is not important. What the political parties have said, that becomes a political debate for you. Here, what you have understood, there are central sector schemes, centrally sponsored schemes. Now, the centrally sponsored scheme is not showing a kind of cooperative federalism. Cooperative federalism means various levels of the government are cooperating with themselves to bring a national level development, right? So these are the bigger things that you have to see. The perspective for you, it has to change. Now, since the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan is in the news, PM Shri scheme is in the news, they can individually, they can ask the question on the, what is the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan? Basically, Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan is a centrally sponsored scheme. It includes 3 things. Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, Rashtra Madhyamika Shiksha Abhiyan, and also teacher education. These are the 3 components that are there. Okay, they can ask such a kind of independent question, or they can ask broadly what are the issues in this cooperative federalism that is happening. Okay, simply this scheme, okay, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, Rashtra Madhyamika Shiksha Abhiyan, and the teacher education. So I have given this factual information. This is for your general awareness. Okay, so what is this Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan? Basically, it is like providing like school uniform, books. Okay, like supporting this Right to Education Act. Government is saying through Right to Education Act we will provide education 6 to 14 years. Now there should be some funding for this act to be implemented, right? So through these schemes, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, Madhyamika Shiksha Abhiyan, and teachers education, you are getting the funds. So you need to interrelate. Okay. Okay. So somewhere law is passed, how the money comes. Okay. These are the schemes that we have. So this is how we need to know. Now what is this PM Shri scheme? So basically they want to develop a kind of ideal schools. For suppose, as per this new education policy, they do not want a kind of exams till at least 5th class. Okay, so they want activity-based learning. The children should not feel the pressure of exams. They should not feel stressful. Array that the exam is there, we have to study. No. Okay, they should feel joyful. Okay, based on these standards of the new education policy, they are trying to bring the model education, model schools. This is called the PM Shri schools. Now, if you have to receive the funds, then you have to implement our new education policy. These are the certain restrictions that are going on. So that's why PM Shri scheme is in the news and this Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan is in the news. Okay, the factual details that I have given here. Okay, now this project line, even on the Make in India, okay, you will see this line. So that is a kind of very proud thing as per the census. The status of the number of lines that are there in India are consistently increasing. Okay, such kind of prelims questions can be asked. If you can see here, in the 2001 there were 327. Okay, later on, see here they are consistently increasing without any kind of decline. Now it is 891. So here one thing you need to know again from the exam point of view. So basically, be it a tiger, elephant, or lion, cheetah, all these are the big sized animals, right? they cannot live in the areas where it is very densely forested. Okay, they cannot live in the area like say Western Ghats where you have a like evergreen forest. Okay, where in the evergreen forest means like these trees are packed with each other. Okay, there is no space between them. These kind of big sized animals basically live in the areas of grasslands. Okay, there should not be such a kind of densely packed trees. Where you have more trees, what kind of animals you will see? Arboreals, monkeys, snakes, these kind of things. So these are the animals that generally you find in the grasslands. Like say during the cheetah reintroduction also, they were talking about the grasslands. Now this lion is also found in the Gujarat area, only in the previously in the Gir area, Gir National Park of the Gujarat. Gir National Park, Gujarat. These are also grasslands. Now they have found the area in which these lions used to live is increasing. How? Government has allotted like as per this project line. Okay, they have allotted funds. With this, now they are protecting the forest. They are making the prey available for these lions. So they are doing basically habitat protection, right? So with this, the lion population has increased. Now, if the lion population is increased so much, can the same state can it accommodate? No, right? So maybe they might in the future they might they are also considering the relocation of these lions to the Kuno National Park, which is in the Madhya Pradesh. Okay, they are also trying to develop Bandav Sanctuary, which is in the Gujarat. Now these kind of questions, Bandav Sanctuary, where is this? Okay, they can ask in the prelims. People might get surprised, right? Why they have asked the Bandav Sanctuary, which is some very small sanctuary in the Gujarat. But this is how when we study in this format, then you will be easily able to understand. Okay, you don't have to go read all those 500 sanctuaries. Only those sanctuaries which are in the news, you will read them. Okay, you have some kind of connection to remember them. Okay, so we have understood. Now all these animals, all these three big sized animals are the endangered animals. Okay, yesterday we have seen olive ridley turtle. What is this? It is a vulnerable. Then we have also seen certain other sea turtles. Then we have also seen river terrapins in which certain animals are critically endangered. Okay, so those important animals which are coming in the news frequently, we must remember them. So when I say these things, lion, so you should first remember Project Lion. Then you will remember Gir National Park, which is in the Gujarat. Then you will remember the grasslands concept. Okay, and also here one more important concept is there. There in the Gir National Park, there are tribes called Maldari tribes. Okay, these are the people, they protect the lions. Always, like even in the yesterday's session I have said, locals' involvement is very important in protecting the biodiversity. So the Maldari tribes. So I will also use this thing as a case study whenever we talk about the like forest cutting or like a rehab, like eviction of the people, any locals there. So I will say why the locals are also important when we take up the measures for the protection of the biodiversity. These are the people who are involved. Basically, lions are said to be more social animals. Okay, they are a little bit friendly. Okay, than tigers. Okay, but we can't go and cuddle with them. Okay, so little bit friendly. They are considered to be more social animals. Like you might have seen some Instagram videos also where lion is trying to cuddle, okay, with a tiger. Okay, but tiger is not interested. Okay, so like this. Okay, the basically point here is to say the lions are a bit more social. Okay. See here. Why this thing is Israel is in the news? Because so much of thing is happening. Like say once in the, if you can see here, this is the Israel map. Just see the map today. Some other day we will get into more deeper details. Okay, if you see here Israel, okay, this is the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, can you see here? These are the areas where the Palestinian people are there. Palestine is basically they are the locals. Okay, earlier this entire area is considered to be a Palestine. Basically, geographical territory derived its name from the local inhabitants. So Palestinians are the people inhabiting this area. Now currently they are restricted only to these areas. So whenever they are demanding the country, they are basically want the freedom of this thing. Okay, you need to see also the countries surrounding it. Okay, the Sinai is also basically previously it has captured by the Israel. It was part of the Egypt. Okay, and here you have the Jordan, and here you have the this West Bank. Now currently in the Gaza, okay, okay. So understand the map. If you can see here, this Golan Heights was also the part of the Syria, but captured by the Israel. Okay, then you have the Lebanon here, and somewhere here you have the Cyprus. Just understand the map. Now, what is happening is this whoever the this Gaza is controlled by the Hamas. Okay, this Hamas is considered as a terrorist organization by the Israel and the USA. Now they have launched they have launched the missiles from the Gaza in the last year, somewhere in the October 7th, I think. Okay, from then onwards, so they have small missiles. Maybe at max they can launch some 10-50 missiles, and some damage they can cause. But Israel is very strong militarily. Okay, they also have the Iron Dome to counter the missiles entering into the Israel. So from then onwards, they are very strongly attacking the Gaza. Now the problem is they have stopped the humanitarian assistance. Now here there are no no schools, no hospital facilities. There is no proper food and anything. Anything has to enter from the Israel only. So Israel has blocked this thing. So that's why United Nations is saying if aid is not provided in the next 48 hours, so I think thousands something, they have mentioned 20,000 children might die in the next 48 hours. So this will be considered as a kind of mass crime. Okay, so it has to take care. We can attack the terrorist organizations, but we should not kill the innocents. We should find a solution. Children and whoever is not who has nothing to do with the war and all, they should be protected. Okay, so that's what it is going on. So later on we'll try to understand what is happening in detail. Okay, why now Israel also want to attack Iran's nuclear facilities. You might have seen this thing, because at this time, at this thing, whoever the rivals of the Israel, like say be it Iran or be it Lebanon, so Hezbollah, okay, or be it in the Yemen, all they are at present in the weak positions. So Israel want to get maximum out of this. Okay, so that's why they are doing certain things. Let's see how it will happen. So you got the clarity now here. They can ask simply in the UPSC the Rafah. Okay, match the locations. So you need to be aware of major important cities. Okay, so this is the Gaza Strip which we have seen. So here you have the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, see here, Mediterranean Sea is there. So they have planned some kind of assistance from the Cyprus. Okay, through this sea access, sea route. But somehow Israel, okay, is waiting here also. They are not allowing any kind of access. Okay, so this is what currently is happening, and you have seen the editorials coming. Okay, the Israel should not be doing this thing. Now this is a very small news, but it significant news that has come into the news yesterday. Because some kind of global pandemic agreement that has happened in the WHO. Okay, you have seen COVID kind of pandemic that not just affect pandemic means it is not just affecting one nation, it is affecting entire globe. Then we'll say it is a pandemic, or else we'll say it is an epidemic. Okay, so here they are making a kind of agreement among all the nations to share the information. That time that has happened because China has not properly shared the information with the other countries. And when such incidents happens, who is going to share the vaccines? Okay, so at that time profit making should not be the objective, because that is a situation where humans are dying. Okay, how do you take support of each other country? How do you promote the vaccination in that time? Okay, like this, to agreeing on all those parameters, one agreement has been signed. Okay, but somehow USA will be out of all these things. Okay, USA, who is a major leading state in the vaccine production, they say no, we are not part of this thing. Okay, somehow because I do not understand, maybe probably because of business things or anything. Okay, maybe if you have to, if you sign this agreement, then you are supposed to supply the vaccines in these conditions at lower prices. Okay, so you can see scenarios. Okay, when you try to see these kind of things, you will understand many things. Okay, now I will also show you one more thing. Okay, the topic of the day we will discuss. That is about the WTO. Now I'm not going into the what actually is WTO and in its entirety. You will study this thing in the economy class. Okay, or else it will become an economy lecture. So I will give you the basic fundamental thing. What is the news happening and why the WTO is in the news. So what is the news? USA has imposed tariffs on our steel. Okay, so there are certain rules for imposition of the tariffs according to the WTO. You cannot unilaterally impose the tariff. Tariff means taxes, import duties. When we export something steel, okay, they are applying the tariffs. Okay, if I say if for 100 rupees I am trying to export my steel, okay, now they have applied 25 rupees taxes. Now it will become 125 rupees. If their steel is 110 rupees, then my steel don't become competitive anymore, right? So that's why these taxes are very important. You cannot unilaterally impose these kind of taxes if according to the WTO. Okay, if I have any kind of problem, then I can go into the dispute settlement body in the WTO. If still there is any problem, then I can appeal. I can go for the appellate body in the WTO, and the decisions given by the appellate body are binding in nature. And they has to be followed. This is how rules-based order, consensus-based decisions, a kind of ordered structure used to go on. Okay, but USA has withdrawn from this WTO. Okay, they are not allowing the appellate body of the WTO to function properly. Okay, so this is where we are facing the problem. So understood the context? You have understood the context. Why we are discussing WTO and what are the recently tariffs imposed by the USA. Now let's understand the again basics. What is this WTO? After World War II, I am talking about the scenarios of 1940. Okay, in around 1944, by then World War II has happened, so much of destruction has happened. Now they want to rebuild the nations. Europe was the most destroyed thing. So they have met at Bretton Woods, which we got as a Bretton Woods conference. Okay. Then they have come up with the 3 institutions for the reconstruction and development. One such institution is the World Bank. Another institution is IMF. Another thing is not an institution, it is a kind of agreement. Okay, it is about every thing has its own purpose. Okay, the IMF is like kind of RBI, you can think of. They are checking about the price stability, exchange rate stability. If any kind of problems, in order to improve their financial structure, they will provide the loans. This is what happened in the currently loan system are given in the Pakistan. They have even supported India during 1991 crisis. I'm not going deeper, I'm just giving you basic. These are the 3 institutions. World Bank, they provide the loans for the developmental purposes. Especially this was designed for those then war devastated countries, especially European countries. Okay, now they are supporting all the countries, and India is the one country which is highly benefited from the World Bank. We are also largest receiver of the funds from the World Bank. And this is the agreement that is trying to liberalize the trade. What does it mean by the liberalization of the trade? Means we have around 190 plus countries in the world. Okay, now maybe let's say India is good in exporting some products. Maybe service sector India is very good at it. Okay, we have the technology. Okay, some other country is having some other best thing. Now they can export that best thing to me, and whatever best is mine, okay, I will export it to them. So both the nations will be benefited. This is the theory. So there has to be a liberalization of the trade. So this will promote the trade with least restrictions, with least taxes, and then this can also promote the employment, jobs, and can bring the well-being of everyone. This was the agreement as per the GATT. But this was not an institution like IMF and the World Bank. After set of talks, okay, then we have got the WTO. I think through Marrakesh Treaty. Okay, there were 8 rounds of talks. Okay, then we have got this WTO. Now this WTO, what is its main purpose? Its main purpose is liberation of the trade. Okay, let me take it back to you. See, the WTO major mandate is to ensure this trade flows smoothly, freely, fairly, and in a predictable manner. You cannot just randomly impose taxes. Okay, there should be some kind of predictability. Basically, it's trying to liberalize the trade that is happening. Okay, now it has brought some kind of institutional structure. So there is a kind of ministerial conference, means all the heads, they will participate and take the major decisions. For every 2 years, they will meet and they will take the major decisions. All the decisions taken through the consensus only. Okay, they will pass various agreements, like you might have seen, trims. Okay, you will study these things when you study about the WTO. Okay, agreement on agriculture, how much subsidy can be given on agriculture. Okay, what kind of protection should be given to the patents, how many years patent right have to be protected. So all these are the basically agreements that were through the consensus passed under the WTO. Okay, and this also has a proper structure. Okay, here all these people will meet at the ministerial conference and they will pass it through the consensus. So fundamental thing, they are basically trying to allow the trade. Now, in order to support the developing countries, they have made certain extra benefits to the developing countries also. Okay, they have tried to provide a little bit more support, not a very huge supports. Okay, still there is Doha development, like Doha Accords and all these things. Still, we want more benefits. Somehow they are not being passed. But whatever it is passed, like according to the USA, they are benefiting the developing countries more, especially China. Okay, some provisions were introduced to favor least developed countries and the developing countries. Because there is a rule-based order, no country can unilaterally impose tariffs, and if you violate anything, we can also go for the dispute settlement body, and also you can go for the like appellate body. Okay, this was the scenario. Everything used to be discussed properly. There was a mechanism. So that's how global trade has been increased. We also got benefited. Globalization has happened. Globalization means integration of economies, integration of the trade. Only when that thing happens, FDI investment will happen. We will be able to export at different nations. This was possible because of the WTO. Right, but okay, and see the structure here. So the major decision-making body is ministerial conference. Day-to-day administration is taken care by the general council. The same general council will also try to resolve dispute settlement body. Okay, let's say if India and USA are fighting with each other. Okay, then general council will call them. Okay, then say, okay, let's do this thing. If any party is not happy, then they go for the appellate body. There will be lawyers will be present. There will be 7-member bench will be there. Okay, they will take care of this thing and then they will give the final judgment. But currently, this appellate body is not working. Okay, so in order to like USA is blocking this appointments of the judges that are currently vacant. USA has withdrawn from this this WTO structure, and it is not also supporting this appellate mechanism because it says this WTO structure is not benefiting the USA. They have benefited China because of this only. They have got more benefits. India is also getting benefited. China is also getting benefited. So that's why they came out of this WTO structure and they are imposing heavy taxes. Now you cannot also question under WTO. There is no such mechanism. So you have understood the big picture how USA, like previously also you have seen various tariffs have been imposed by the USA. Why these things are getting possible? Because in this way they are approaching. They are not doing as per the mandate of the WTO. As per the mandate of the WTO, you cannot do all those things. Only you have 3 exceptions. Like say, I will show you. See, there should be some liberalization, but there are certain exceptions as given. For suppose, if China is producing very producing something and it is dumping in India at a very cheaper price. For suppose they are producing some kind of toys. Dumping means in the China, let's assume, I'm saying in rupee. Okay, in China it is 200 rupees, but they are selling it in India at 100 rupees. Then it is considered to be a dumping. Understand the word dumping clearly. Dumping means they are selling at a price lower than their domestic price, whatever in the China. So then to balance it, to counter that thing, if India has proper reports or to show that, then India can impose 100 rupees tax to balance it. Okay, so this is one anti-dumping duty, and then there is a countervailing duties. For suppose China, okay, now they are selling the toys for 100 rupees only, but they are able to sell that 100 rupees because China is giving 50 rupees subsidy to produce the toys. Okay, now India is not giving any subsidy. Okay, so they are able to produce at 100 rupees. If subsidy is removed, China's toy cost might be 150. Okay, so they are providing some kind of unfair advantage by providing the subsidy. So in that case, you can impose the countervailing measures. These questions have been asked multiple times in the prelims. Okay. Now some safeguards. If there is any kind of threat to your national economy or any kind of integrity and all, then you can impose the taxes. Now, US government say, okay, we have that kind of threat to our domestic industries, so we are imposing those high charges. So US is what kind of threat? What kind of problems are you facing? Okay, this is what happening. Even in the mains, they have asked the question, okay, the way the WTO is going on, so what can be its implications for the country, for the nations all over the world? Okay, this was the question that is happening. So go through that structure and understand the things in a big picture. Okay, so that is all for today. Now we have 5 minutes. We will discuss the yesterday question I have gave you. This thing I will take up. Golden Dome has been announced by the USA. Okay, I will take it up tomorrow. Okay, the multi-layer defense system, air defense system that was handled by the India. Okay, all this thing we'll do tomorrow. Okay, so do not worry. Now let's get into that discussion. So even if you guys have not tried, at least I want you guys to think before looking in the answer. Okay, discuss the fire safety regulations in India and challenges associated. This can be asked in the disaster management. So now they are not asking one specific law. They are asking in general what kind of regulations or what kind of mechanisms are there to protect prevent any kind of fire accidents in India. So what should be my introduction? Most of the times I see students using definition as a kind of introduction. What kind of definition you will write here? Fire safety means sudden blast of fire. Okay, we are preventing that kind of blast. Okay, like this, I'll see some kind of random definitions of the students. No, definition will not work everywhere. You will use the definition as an introduction when there is some kind of subjectivity or some kind of technical term in the question. Okay, discuss the stem cell technology. That is a technical term. Then you have to define what is the stem cell technology. Okay, or else they are asking you discuss what is this? Okay, they're asking you discuss what is this? The question they have asked: potential GDP. Okay, discuss the factors that is hindering the potential GDP. Now, in order to discuss the factors that are hindering the potential GDP, you need to discuss what is the potential GDP, or else I will not be able to discuss. That can be slightly subjective if you don't define it properly. So, in those scenarios, definition is important for me to define things, to bring the content in the body. So, there only I will bring the definition, not everywhere. Okay, so you have to write introduction as per the requirement, not just everywhere. Okay, UPSC will see the people who are dynamic. If you are just having one definition approach and writing everywhere, it's not going to work. Okay, so here I will use current affair based question. Now I am talking about the fire accidents or fire safety. Okay, so according to the latest accident deaths and suicides in India report released by the National Crime Records Bureau, 7,435 people were killed in over 7,500 accidents in the 2022. This would be a very good introduction for me. Okay, then I will talk about what kind of fire safety regulations I have. Okay, this is the National Building Code that was given by the Bureau of Indian Standards. National Building Code means whenever any building, any structure is there, okay, there has to be certain standards in order to prevent any kind of fire accidents. Okay, there should be proper exit. There are the buildings. Okay, the short circuit, so that to prevent the buildings from the short circuit and all. So there should be certain standards for this electric, like electronic devices, and in order to handle when the fire rises, how you will take up these things, how you will address, how you will reach out the first point of contact. So certain regulations are there. Okay, so this is what given as per the National Building Code. Okay, it includes specifications for fire preventions, life safety measures, and the fire protection and all. So I have mentioned all those things. Then there are Model Building Bylaws 2016. Okay, so even here there are certain regulations given what kind of safety mechanisms has to be incorporated while constructing the buildings. If you include all those things, then you can prevent such a kind of disasters. Okay. Then you also have the Fire Prevention and Life Safety Measures Act, third party accreditation. If this building is good or not, okay, there has to be third party has to decide. Okay, these are the regulations. Now, but somehow, okay, this NBC is building code is a regulatory in nature. So not properly implemented uniformly in every state. This is a problematic concern. Compliance is not there. See, in India, there is very huge population. Okay, it is very difficult to get the land also, and construction. All these things happen in a haphazard manner. Okay, so like say even in the Charminar, which we have seen, the area is densely packed. It's very difficult to check the implementation of these provisions there. It is very difficult. Okay, and also corruption is also deep rooted. So basically, on theory you have the rules, but implementation is not happening. There's a major problem. Okay, so when you do this, these are the challenges. Lack of compliance is there, inadequate audits. You should basically do, the local officer should do the audits and inspection. Now, if they ask you, give you the case study, in order to prevent future fire accidents, what will you do? I will use these points. I will make sure the bylaws, model bylaws are properly implemented. I will go for the audits. I will go for the inspections. If I see any kind of violation, I will impose the fines or I will proceed as per the law. Okay, so these frameworks, these rules, these regulations is giving you also the framework to approach the case studies. You will not write randomly. You have certain direction based on the rules already framed by the government. You have the constitution. Okay, so based on these things only, you will also frame the answers for your case studies also. Okay, staff shortages. Fire departments often have the shortage of the trained personnel. Okay, and public also do not have the awareness. Okay, is this building having the safety codes? Even not just simple small buildings, even big establishments like multiplexes, complexes, sometimes they violate these fire safety codes. Okay, in order to make some profits and all. It is very important. Audits has to be done, inspections has to be done, and they have to heavily penalized. Okay, if they find, because this is going to cause a lot of harm to the people. Okay, so this is how you will write the answer. Now see, this is the question asking about discuss the fire safety regulations and challenges. They have asked the challenges, so I will mention the challenges. Now I can write the suggestions as a conclusion, or I can simply give the certain suggestions. Okay, these are the two ways. Now in the conclusion, I can mention, I can finish the answer by giving some kind of suggestions, like say we have to do this thing, and I will conclude my answer. That is one way. Or I can simply give the suggestions in a separate manner, and conclusion I can give some other things. Okay, I can conclude by saying, okay, these things has to be properly implemented, or any other words we can include in the conclusion. Or another right way is to include these suggestions as a conclusion. Okay, basically I use writing the suggestions in the conclusion. But if they ask separately, suggest the steps. Now I will use this, I will write these suggestions. Then in the conclusion, I will use some kind of statements or some kind of more optimistic ideas. Okay, if we can do this thing, we can prevent any kind of deaths. We can protect the population of the local area and all, something like that. I'll try to bring in general thing a kind of optimistic ending, the finishing touch. I'll generally go by the suggestions. Okay, so this is way to write the introduction. Now in the body, I will use the same heading, fire safety regulations. I will use the same heading, challenges. Okay, challenges in the fire safety. You always should use the headings from the question, not random headings. Okay, these are the fundamentals of the answer writing. So when we do this kind of discussions, these things will be very clear for you. You can also try this thing. What is environmental impact assessment? Discuss its key strategies. Okay. So tomorrow, now can you see here question tag? Here it is mentioned what, and here it is mentioned describe. And in the previous question we have given the question tag discuss. There is difference. Discuss is a bigger question tag. Even if I am not given the challenges mentioned in the question, still I have to talk about the challenges. What or describe means basically they are like a factual thing. You don't have to analyze how far they are good. Are there any challenges? Is there any effectiveness or not? It is not required. This is basically a factual thing. I'm just asking what laws are there? What is this? What is it? Right? I'm just asking you to describe. Okay. So that's all for today. Tomorrow we will discuss the other aspects. Okay. If any doubts, you guys can ask me tomorrow or after lecture. You can ask them. I have shared with them. They'll share it with you. Okay, that's it for today. Any other question?